Welcome to Clixed Off, brought to you by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama. Check them out at luckydicecafe.com. And now for your hosts, Daniel Powell, Jason Alvey, Alex Coons, and Tyler Speeds.
Hey everybody, welcome to Clixed Off today. This is your host Daniel Powell speaking. Just want to let everybody know Clixed Off is brought to you by TrollandToad.com, the world's largest HeroClix retailer. Find HeroClix new and old on TrollandToad.com and use coupon code CLIXEDOFF for 5% off your HeroClix order. Merchant and pre-order items do not apply. If you like what you're hearing today on Clixed Off, check us out, patreon.com/ClixedOff. $1 and above gets entered into our monthly giveaways. $5 and above gets entered into our Patreon Discord channel for HeroClix strategy and tactics discussion. This month's giveaway is a brick of SpiderMan. And then joining me today is Jason. Never been to a Costco, Alvey.
Nope. My only big box store like that is Sam's Club around here.
Yeah, you're like 45 minutes from a Costco, so it's understandable.
Yeah, I ain't driving all the way over there and back.
Yeah, not just for a Costco. And then also joining me today is Alex Costco Stan Coos.
Yeah, might as well call me Mr. Kirkland because I love me some Costco. I have 4 kids though. That's pretty self-explanatory why I like Costco as much as I do.
Right. Now it makes sense. I love Costco, so it's just I do. I love Costco.
That's not enough of excitement for us to get that Costco sponsorship that we need.
No, it's not. If Costco was giving out sponsorships, I would gladly eat their pie. And then we do have, for the first time in a minute, we do have a special guest on tonight. So it's Wesley, a.k.a. Wes, a.k.a. chose to be on here as a prize. Thanks for choosing our prize, Roberston.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for being on. So, yeah, we need to do that again. I did like giving that away as a prize. I was worried that like it was going to go around and like nobody was going to pick it, and it'd be like the last thing, and Brad would message me like, "Hey, nobody picked your prize."
It'd feel like us picking the prizes at nationals. The one thing, it's like, okay, who wants like Tyler getting the zombie set, and we're like, yeah. So you got zombies, buddy.
Well,
why don't you want?
Well,
them?
no. So Tyler wasn't last. Okay. By the way, so it was Antonio.
He wasn't there.
Well, no. It was. I picked for him. They let him know that I was going to pick for him, but no. 16th place was Antonio, and he got a factory set of Batman. I want to say Batman animated, but no, it was the Batman TV show.
66.
Batman 66.
Right.
Yeah. And he said he was excited. But
is it really fair to call that a factory set? Like,
I mean, it is by technical terms. It included all of the pieces, and it included the Batmobile.
I know, but you say like, oh, he's got a factory set. You're like, oh, cool, man. And it's like 9 figures. How many figures were in that set? It wasn't much, right?
No.
It was like
It was a fun set.
It was a good set.
Yeah.
It even had competitive figures in it.
Like, who else has one of those? I mean, nobody, right?
That's fair. I guess it's hard because you're having to equate it in the moment of like, here's all the other prizing, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay. And the other, that was just a whole mess. We don't have to go back into that, but how they handled the like announcement of it and prizing for nationals, it was just a headache at the time. But
I will say, being on the show is a pretty cool prize, and the only reason it didn't get picked sooner was because when it was listed on the spreadsheet, everybody was so obsessed with the big blocks of character prizes that they're like, oh, there's other prizes too? Oh, I can be on a show? So it was like it wasn't like they didn't want to pick it sooner. They just didn't know it was even an option.
Oh yeah, that spreadsheet was it was interesting to try to read. So, but
hey, we're happy we got you. So
yeah, we're glad to have you. I mean,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we did want to cover the WizKids announcement that came out while we were on our time off there. Sabbatical, I guess, right? I mean, there wasn't much going on for a month there, but we also had a bunch of other stuff going on.
I don't think it's fair to call it an announcement, but yeah.
Well, so that's how we get things, right? We get announcements via these presentations at these shows.
Well, I will say, credit to WizKids, because maybe they realize that marketing for like what we desire for marketing is just so minor that what we're about to talk about. Remember, they made posts on their official Facebook WizKids like 2 weeks later, and it's like the most random times, be like, this DC set's coming, and they had that Joker like spinning around or something like that. Like that was their grand announcement, and they did the same with the other Marvel set. And for me, it's like, oh, okay, well, we kind of already knew that because we were so used to having to get info from like back alleys and man, you got any more of that WizKids news? So,
right.
But it's good to take a second to be like, hey, they actually are like announcing these ahead of time to us, not to the stores, to us. They're posting, hey, this is coming out in, what was it, August, September, the rest of I think they basically announced the rest of the year.
Well, isn't that kind of the biggest, complaint that everybody's had across the board, other than the quality control issues and the polls, but just communication. So I think maybe they're actually starting to listen to the players and making attempts to communicate better.
It's a hope. I think it's a hope and a dream.
They said they were going to do better. Have they? Not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a minor thing. Like, what they've done is so minor, and it's gone a long way. So we don't need to just like, yay, they did it. We're satisfied. They posted something.
No.
But maybe they're realizing that this could be like such a low investment for them to have, to make the community happy, because ultimately it is.
So yeah, I mean, it's a step in the right direction, some of those posts, but it is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a tiny baby step in the right direction that we're so.
But it is a baby step in the right direction. So, like, I want to give them credit where credit's due. I mean, they have notoriously kind of ignored the community altogether in the past. So, to even make an effort, I want to applaud them for that.
Right.
Yeah, it literally is a baby step. And what do you do with babies? What do you do with baby steps? Good job, buddy. You did a good job. Let's do it again. Come on, you got it.
Oh my gosh,
it literally is a baby.
Hey, good job, WizKids. Good job. Let's see some more.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that sounds.
It says like we're pandering and we're whatever.
That does sound like it's pandering, but to
be
did
fair,
this announcement even say when OP is returning? Did it even say, was there a date? Was there a month?
Okay, so yeah, that's jumping into the actual announcement. The ones we saw in the back alleys.
Yeah. So, no, it didn't say, did it? Hold on, I'm filing my request for my.
No,
I am filing for my request for my replacement map for my minigame set.
Oh, okay.
What's wrong with your map and your minigame set?
They released a. So they released an announcement today that says it has come to our attention that unfortunately some of the scenarios in the Spider-Man Beyond Amazing Miniatures game don't match the map that are in the product. In order to help players who purchase this product, we'll be taking some product replacement steps as well as making some print and play options available. you can use the product replacement system to request a map. So
Man,
what
has happened with their quality on this set specifically?
Wait a minute. So the map itself is like not usable?
No, it's usable.
It's just not for the miniature game. Like the miniature game has scenarios that probably reference certain things, and
So-
that's
Oh,
missing.
okay.
I played the Battlegrounds miniature game, and like there was a scenario, the first one where you had to break Red Skull out of jail. There was a specific square that was his jail, and you had to get your characters there to get him out. And you had to get across the map to escape Shield. So it's probably, from what I'm guessing, is something like that, where the designated square from the card doesn't match the square on the map.
Yeah, you got it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I was
But
going
it just further, like, I don't know what happened with Spider-Man. Like,
right.
so many.
Did you
bad
guys see the
things.
post today of with the Prime Green Goblin card that has a regular
Yes.
Green Goblin picture on it?
That was cool though. Like,
How the hell does that happen?
well, I mean, we got the Cloak and Dagger with the wrong Cloak and Dagger on it. So it's
but
not.
were they all that way? Yeah, but they're all that way though, right?
I'm
Some of
kind
these
of.
are that way. Some of them aren't.
I'm kind of okay with it. Like, if it fits that specifically, right? Like, if it has all the right data, so all the right info. So like, we're not missing anything. It had the right dial. It had all the right info. It was just the picture was different. It was the other picture.
I get that. But how does that happen?
I have
I
no
just feel
idea.
like the set is a beta version of a new trial for something. Like they just made all these changes and they just rushed it to press without actually testing it out and proofreading stuff. They just kind of like, okay, that's good enough. Let's send it out.
Yeah.
I agree to it. I agree.
So I guess it's just, so I'm looking at it. I guess it's just the dockyard map. So the dockyard came in the play-at-home kit, so I don't actually need a replacement.
Oh.
You just buy the play-at-home kit. I mean, I understand that a lot of people don't want to buy more stuff, but I can just get the...
You kind of have to just for the terrain.
Yeah.
Well, terrain markers.
Yeah. So, so let's just go ahead and round out the announcement stuff. So, yeah, we need more. Give us more announcements, WizKids. So back to the announcements that we did get. So in the first slide, who's the guy with the sword?
He's from the Royal Plush gang.
The Royal Flush Gang. So
We already got Ace. You remember Ace?
yeah, no, I get it. I am aware of that. I did watch the Batman, the Justice League Unlimited. They were in there.
So this one is from the DC animated universe.
Gotcha.
That one I assume is like the King. Yeah, I think it's obviously
Where
King.
are you looking at this?
On the Brad's page, the Bradcast show.
I'll send it to you real quick.
Oh yeah, it was in Batman Beyond, I guess, is what the comments say.
That version, yes. This version of it was for Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
They've been in multiple things. They had the most episodes of Batman Beyond. I think like 5 episodes or 3 episodes. But there was an episode of it in Justice League, I think, and there was one in Justice League Unlimited. But either way, I mean,
There's also a movie, Justice League Doom, that had them in there.
Yeah. So it's exciting. It's cool because that right off the bat is like DC, right? That was one of the biggest complaints is, oh, we got Batman team up. That's our one DC set of the year, guys. Good luck.
Well,
See you
yeah.
guys next year.
We didn't get one at all in 22, so
Yeah, well, we kind of all know that Batman was supposed to be in 22. We kind of just got pushed.
it wasn't delivered.
Yeah, but hey, that works out. That probably works out in their favor because now it means 23. We're getting 2. But before we jump to that, the first slide, and these are slides that they got from, I don't know where, it's one of the meetings with stores. It's a very generic looking slide that has the King from the Royal Flush Gang, and it literally has one bullet point, monthly. It says organized play, bullet point, monthly OP, bullet point, storyline OP, bullet point, competitive, and that's it. Like it's almost like that's kind of the list of our demands. And they're like just reposting it.
Yeah, it's like.
See, I don't. That's not an announcement. That's like...
Yeah, because we heard similar things at Nationals. Like they're like, yeah, we're coming back to OP stuff. Like we're gonna get back to it. And this one, like if they gave us a little bit more info, I feel like X of Swords, we knew about that well in advance, did we not?
Yeah.
Like here's did we learn that at Worlds the year before?
There's literally.
I guess we didn't have Worlds. We didn't have Worlds
whatsoever.
No,
but it is them acknowledging organized play. The key thing to take away from this is that there's competitive, monthly OP, storyline OP. It doesn't like detail anything about competitive, whether that means WKOs or if that means just Nationals or Worlds. Like,
well, does anybody know how X of Swords did overall? Like, was it profitable for WizKids?
Yeah, I mean, we don't get like individual like results on profitability or anything because they are a private company. But
and I've been struggling to find how HeroClix has been doing. You know, they used to have in the different reports of like, here's miniature games, right? And it's like, oh, like Warhammer, here's this, here's that, and then like at number 5 is HeroClix. I haven't found any of that recently, like in the past couple of years. Maybe something I have to sign up for, but I went looking to see like how has HeroClix been doing lately, but I haven't been able to find anything, which is a little odd.
Yeah. So the DC set that we do get this year, DC Notorious, an all villain set.
Now, I am not a DC guy.
Yeah.
Is Notorious an actual, like, it's not like a story arc or anything, was it?
I don't know.
Like, you know, we got the you know, Darkest Night, War of Light. That was kind of like based off a set. You know, we got Batman Unlimited. You know, we got everything that was based off of certain things. Rebirth was literally that was a whole thing, right? Rebirth was a DC quote unquote saga or comic event. It was Notorious one? I don't think it was, right?
It doesn't.
Do they
look
ever
like it,
like
no.
fully follow a format? Like, it seems like every set when I watch Scott Porter, he's like, "Oh, this. If you want to know about this set, read this comic." And he gets halfway through the first 2 boosters, and he's like, "Okay, forget everything I just said. This has nothing to do with that comic at all." And they're just throwing characters in. So.
Right. Well, so
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
So the set is named. Typically, the way these work, the set is named after a theme, right? So like this set we just got, right, is, you know what? I don't even know. I can't even going to try to justify it.
I mean, X of Swords was clearly the last one that we got that was very much built around a comic event.
Well, so yeah, that's
Right.
true. But like Batman Team Up, right? Let me use that one, right? So we had Scooby, right? That was a theme. We had the Teen Titans Go with their big heads. That was a theme. And then we had the folks from the Batman Team Up line, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the main point is that they're straying away more from here is a comic book event that we're like focused on, unless it's a big event and they're trying to appeal to a wider audience, because that's why we now have, like you said, the Batman Team Up, which has the Teen Titans Go. We had just general Avengers, I guess. We had X of Swords, but we had Disney Plus before that. We had like, I feel like we had all the cartoon sets fairly recently. So I feel like it's now becoming less of just built purely around comic events, and it's kind of just a combo of everything. Like, and you just have generic sets too, like kind of like Avengers Forever was generic. Was Avengers Forever a thing? I don't
Yeah.
think it was, right?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
There's a couple.
Yeah, there's two separate storylines over however many years. So he's like, you can read both of these, and they kind of both apply to this set. And then he pulled out stuff that's like, okay, this character had nothing to do with either book, so I don't know where they're getting this stuff.
Yeah, I think
Right.
there's like if you take your standard set. So Batman Team Up was 60 some odd pieces. I would say at least half of them maybe probably fit to the theme of the set, what they're going for.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, these are, and that's probably where they start. Like, if that'd be interesting to like, I would love to just get a HeroClix designer to just talk about, don't have to talk about dials, don't have to talk about any of that. Just literally just here's how we start building a set. Like, character concept wise, like we've come up with the idea of we want to do the Spider-Man Beyond Amazing, and we decided we wanted it to be a little bit more, sinister, the Sinister Syndicate. We want them to be a big thing in there. So here's the list of figures, people we think we want to be in there. That takes up this much space. This takes up that much space. Now let's sprinkle in other things. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall of those discussions, just purely from not a playability like meta or anything like that, but just purely this is how we've decided, this is how we come up with who's going to be in a set and who's not.
And who's going to be a chase, who's going to be a common.
Yeah, that too. Like all in one, because I think that's just fun to like hear. Oh, here's from a game design. Like, I would love for them to do. I know 30 for 30s is like a sports ESPN related thing, but like just a thing where they come out with a video, just like here's how we come up with a set, and they don't even have to be specific to Marvel or DC if they're worried about like licensing talk or something. They could say, here we go. We'll come up with let's talk about how we came up with Undead. I don't know. That would just be I would watch that 15-minute video or whatever it would be.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Just to be like, that is cool. Like, I'd probably be pretty ecstatic for almost anything that they show, because I think it's interesting material either way.
And that goes back to the communication thing, though. So they have to actually put something together and communicate with us. But like, I think Disney Plus was probably the most stuck to the theme set that I've seen. Like, they didn't really stray from anything. It was all whoever had come up to that point, and they did a really good job of just not straying from it. My only complaint was the zombies. We only had one zombie, and that was a missed opportunity there. But
well, part of me almost wonders with set design, like, how obviously one is like Marvel's, how much of it is WizKids goes to Marvel and says, this is our idea, what do you think? And how much of it is just Marvel saying, hey, we need you to do Avengers Forever, like an Avengers set. Avengers 60th is coming up. We're already doing a set for that, but we want more Avengers. Make it happen, Captain. And then it's like, you got to have the 3 in there, just like with DC. Got to have those 3. And then, like, but beyond that, it's like, okay, well, this comic book art only had, like, 20 characters that were significant in it. What do we do? Well, throw in these guys. Like, it could easily be that as well. It'd be interesting to see, like, how much that comes into play. We will never know how that works, but it'd still be interesting.
I heard somewhere that DC micromanages it much more than Marvel does. Like, DC's like, okay, you can only have one Superman, but we also want Joker and Lex Luthor. We don't want you to use this character. They're very hands-on, DC is. But Marvel is just kind of like, here's a general concept of what we're going to do. Have fun with it. Do whatever you want.
I mean, that's pretty evident when it comes to just in general, I feel like. Like, if you look at how many Marvel video games there are, Marvel just board games and card games and everything, and then think about, like, DC, well, there's not as much stuff out there, I feel like. It does feel just in general more protective of the property, especially in recent events.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, I mean, Notorious, it clearly is going to be a DC villains-based set, and I'm sure everyone is happy to see that there's more than, well, there is a heck of a lot of Batman villains on there, but it looks like more than just Batman villains. Because everybody's been, you know, it's been so Batman heavy.
Yeah, there's other, I mean, there's Flash villains on the picture. There's, you know, the Sinestro. So there are other villains on there.
Batman has the most recognizable villains. It's like the general public, even somebody who's never watched a Batman cartoon, will go, "Oh, that's Joker. Oh, that's Riddler." But you show them Superman villains, and they're going, "I don't know who that is."
That's fair. They might know, like, "Oh, that's Zod. Oh, that's Lex."
Right.
Okay, done.
Gotcha. All right, so then we also get the Death of Superman, Iconics, yep, and then Fighting Doomsday.
That will be on my shelf. I don't care how much it costs. I'm getting that.
Well, they're like $20 or like $29.99, I think. So they're not terribly expensive.
I just pre-ordered the Spider-Man pointing at each other one. I just bought that or pre-ordered it.
I am waiting purely because we have yet to see any of them. Like, I thought Spider-Man was originally set to come out this month, and then I think it got pushed to April, which makes sense because we have such a large gap between now and Avengers 60 that there's just between that and Thanos and the other ones. It's like I just want to see them first. Like, I want to see.
But I had to get it before the promo ended for the Deadpool Ducks. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's another thing. They've been really doing some pretty good promos. If you don't have some, like the one right now with, or I don't know if Spider is still going, but SPDR, like that's a pretty big one for a lot of people that did not get a SPDR Connelly.
Did you see the DC one?
No, I think last week.
Did you see it though?
Is it the
Power Girl and
Huntress?
Yeah. World's Finest.
Yeah, they're. Seemingly they're opening up the vaults and getting rid of a bunch of stuff, which is totally fine.
Did we get a legacy card of them?
No.
Oh. In my head canon, we did, and in my head, it's like that's pretty sweet. They would have given us the
I mean the idea is that these promos, right, is that they could make legacy cards for them, and include that as part of the promo. Can you imagine how much more of them they would sell?
Yeah, maybe in Notorious they're going to be like, surprise!
Yeah,
World's finest.
I mean, maybe, but could you imagine if they just sold it as a pack with the thing and like tied it to a brick?
Well, no, they want you chasing those legacy cards.
They want to spread out your money.
No, I'm saying no. It comes with a brick. You get the figure and a legacy card.
Oh, nah, they could put both of those together and sell them for like $20. And
no, let's get some more money out of us, right?
I mean, I think the $20 is more money, to be honest. I mean.
No, they're
selling them separately. I mean, look at how many play-at-home kits we're getting. Like, I think that's where they're realizing, hey, this is more desirable.
WizKids also sells their bricks for MSRP on their website to not overly compete with stores, and they don't have the middleman to worry about.
Yeah.
So they're making money on those bricks. So. Yeah. I mean,
as they should. I mean, it is their company, right? Like, we want them to make money.
Yeah, MSRP's $170.
Yeah, if anyone is going to make money on this, it's probably good the company that is making the game does make money off of it, because otherwise, we would not keep having HeroClix.
No, I get it. And then we got some photos of Avengers 60. And then Alex, I tell you, I don't know if you remember this or not, but every time I see Absorbing Man I'm just now transported back to the middle of the pandemic of my Iron Man blasting your absorbing man off that elevated.
Yeah, we So yeah, there's other things in this Avengers 60 set.
You just don't want to talk about it. You don't want to.
Listen, I just wanted to have a good time and play like Absorbing Man. I don't honestly remember the full what event. What was that from? Like what event was that?
I think that was PJ's play every piece in Modern until there was none left.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because in my head canon, I was like, why was I playing Absorbing Man? I liked Absorbing Man, and I was like, oh, this figure is better than people thought. But yes, now I remember that. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I had filed that away to forget, but now it's back. So
yep, you're welcome. Glad I can help you with that.
Yeah, the key thing here, Avengers 60 is June, so that is 3 months away. So that's a pretty lengthy time between sets. And that's kind of been exacerbated a little bit because Spidey kind of came weird. Like
as Spider-Man does.
Yeah, pre-release felt more like a release than it was a pre-release for a lot of people, because a lot of people was just getting everything, and because the Scott Porter videos, everything was practically spoiled by the time we got the Scott Porter videos because of eBay and because everyone was getting everything early. So it's like it feels like we've had Spider-Man now for weeks, and today when we were recording. It was the actual release.
Which my store still didn't get their stuff yet.
Yeah, a few of my one of my local stores didn't get theirs either, but I'm assuming the other didn't either. So it's like this is going to feel even longer of a time, and that actually puts us really, really close to rotation, because that's June.
But I don't mind a little bit of a break because my pocketbook needs the break.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's going to put Avengers 60 in the same spot as Disney Plus. It's going to get the shortest amount of time in Modern.
Yeah, it also depends on when in June. Like, hopefully it's not... If it's end of June, I could see them doing, maybe something different with it. But yeah,
maybe, right? But you're just hoping against...
Yeah.
You're just hoping against the history there.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we are, at the time of recording, we haven't heard anything, so everybody might have heard something by now. We are in the time frame that WizKids would make an announcement of this upcoming rotation.
Yeah.
I think the last time was March. I think TJ looked it up for us because I knew it was in March. It was March 18th.
Yeah.
Last year. So we are in the time frame of here's what's rotating, and we kind of know, right? I don't think we're expecting many surprises. The main surprises we're expecting is maybe some of those con LEs that kind of got extended life or got extended releases. How much longer? Master Mold is one of those where it's technically based off of his date, he should, I think, rotate, but he's probably not, because he was a prize, very limited prize, and then a bigger prize, and then he was sold in stores later.
Yeah. I say this. I kind of hope for you, Alex, that he doesn't retire.
For me?
Yeah.
I do like Master Mold, but I'm all for more figures. If it's a con, as long as it's not Crazy Broken or something. I'm all for these type of con LEs, because these type of figures have been fun. The one that no one knows is going to retire. When is Lady Phoenix ever going to retire?
Yeah,
because she's a 2020, and she only became legal to play, I feel this year.
It was in 21, but
Really? I don't think she was ever legal to play. Like, not in competitive.
Sorry, not in 21. I'm missing a whole year there. In 22, she became legal to play.
Yeah, so she technically should probably get one more year of legality because 22 is when she started. But
yeah,
that's why I think it'd be interesting to see, like, if they provide any sort of explanation of, like, oh, hey.
They have in the past for some of that stuff. Well, when they retired ID cards early, they did.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these Notorious slides. Who's this Stan Lee looking fella with a robot arm and a robot leg and an orange?
Yeah, I was
polo?
wondering that too.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Well, son of a biscuit, Jason! If you don't know the answer,
I don't read a ton of DC stuff, man. Like, Justice League was about my only DC book for the most part.
Let's see, DC villain, orange polo. DC villain.
He really
orange
does
polo.
look like Stan Lee.
DC Comics villain, because it's just actually bringing up.
Oh, is it? There's. Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know.
And who's the fish guy?
I think he's just a henchman with a Joker fish. I think.
Yeah, he looks like a Joker henchman. Unless he's some sort of like version of Joker from some cartoon or that I've never seen, but he looks like just a henchman.
Poison Ivy looks awesome.
I mean, Toyman looks awesome. I love that version of Toyman where he's holding the Starro. The
Yeah, that's
HeroClix
cool.
Starro. Like, I love when HeroClix gets a little like fourth wall-y, like we did with the title Deadpool. That was like stepping on the HeroClix map.
Oh, that's my favorite one. I love that one.
Yeah, like that. When it gets that way, I'm like, that's cool. Like, that's a sculpt I would like keep around. Like Toyman holding up a little Starro. That's cool. So, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Like, they're going, like, Spider-Man was fairly villain heavy. Like, all things considered, like, we didn't get 50 versions of Spider-Man, but we got a lot more Sinister Syndicate. And then Avengers, they were talking about, like, oh, villain team-up cards. And then we're getting DC villains. So it sounds like villains are really getting the love that people have been asking for a while, which is nice. It's nice that it's like, hey, yeah, we hear you.
It's like Sinister all over again.
Yeah.
Yes.
One day
you were the only person on
Avengers
the
everything.
call, Jason, that was playing during Sinister.
I wasn't playing during Sinister. That was before my time.
Well, there you go.
I was just close enough to it to remember it, and have had pieces from it.
The 5 old heads that are on that listen to us, respectfully calling them old heads. They're like, oh yeah, I was there during the pre-release for Sinister. I pulled a vet something or another, and it was really awesome. So next topic of the night. So guys, Jason, Alex,
you're not going to talk about
Yeah, we
Ghost
go.
Rider?
What?
Yeah, we forgot Ghost Rider.
Oh, sorry. Wheels
of Vengeance.
Wheels of Vengeance. Yes, Ghost Rider with a fiery motorcycle.
That looks cool.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about whether this is going to be a set. Like, I don't know where they're getting this. I don't know if it's just assumptions that this is going to be a set with, like, vehicles. Not necessarily making a comeback, but, like, maybe more. Kind of like a Nick Fury set. You know, all the chases were vehicle-based.
Yeah, I mean, the question really becomes, is there going to be vehicles back? Is vehicles a retired mechanic? You know,
On a smaller map with as much terrain as there is, I don't know if that's really going to be that much fun.
That's true. I didn't
Like,
think about smaller maps.
Like, I have the Deadpool jet that I can hypersonic across the whole map, but it's not that much fun. I mean, the map's only 8 squares long or whatever it is.
Yeah, 16.
I suspect it's only single peanut bases, like, you know.
Yeah, and
like
maybe
that one right there.
Yeah, and maybe this is their method of like, all the pieces are going to have much smaller values, and this is their like, hey, well, if you want to be able to have longer values, you have to commit to this being a vehicle, and you have to commit to having a pilot. I'm just spitballing here, but it's just we don't know yet, but it is exciting. I know there's a lot of, there's tens of us Ghost Rider fans. So I am not one of them. I don't, not that I hate Ghost Rider. It's just, I'm just not one of those, I can't, sweet Ghost Rider, because Ghost Rider has been one of those figures that WizKids has gotten right like once.
Once.
And then never since. Like, it's just, in recent history, Ghost Rider has not been great. So I'm excited to see them hopefully do better. From not do better as in they've done terrible, but from a competitive standpoint, it'd be nice to see like a competitive Ghost Rider again of some sort.
Yeah, I agree. So I just realized, like, Overdrive can just cross the map.
Yep. And Empower.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to playing short maps on Saturday.
Like, we're gonna do an episode of this leading up to the Rock Cup. We're gonna probably do a couple episodes talking more Silver. There's a lot to take in with Silver, and with smaller maps, there's a lot to take in about much older figures. I think they'll become more valuable. I think there's, especially also with the name keyword item thing, like that can be in play as well, where you may play some of these older figures where at first, for their cost, they pale in comparison to modern. But then you take a second glance, you're like, well, those values nowadays in short maps, that's not too bad. And they've got this named keyword so they can equip a ring for free. Like, I'm looking at, like, you guys remember Thugs?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? You got me looking at it, and I was thinking, like, Mephisto's actually not a bad piece again.
Yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time looking at some older figures that are still going to be in modern. And, like, I came across Peggy Carter from Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It was Giant Reach 3, Quake, and every friendly character within her range, which is 6, gets automatic +1 to their defense.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane on the small map. And the Quake, with the new Quake, the way it works, like, that's really good.
Yeah, one thing we were talking about in our group chat, which is a hypothesis I currently have, is I don't think it would be this year, but I think I have a feeling that WizKids doesn't want this weird hybrid meta to last as long as it's projected to last. Because, we've got, 2 years minimum because the last set, X of Swords had normal rectangle maps, not the square maps. So we've got at least 2 years of having to deal with, here's small maps, here's big maps. You got both. My theory is they may next rotation, not this one, but next, I would not be surprised if they just go ahead and just rotate the maps, leave the sets. And they probably would have done it this year, but we don't have enough maps. Like, we have right now, 4, 6 from SpiderMan?
Yeah.
I guess if you count, like, the one technical one that you have from Batman.
Well, you have the ones from X of Swords, if you count those.
Well, they're not modern legal, though.
Yeah, they're not modern legal. But they're also something that kind of supports this theory a little bit is that they're really pumping up all these play-at-home kits and how many different square maps we're getting. Like, the play-at-home kits each come with 2 double-sided maps, right? Are any of them duplicated?
Right.
The one in the Miles kit is the same as the one in the play-at-home kit.
Okay. And then in Avengers, we're getting 3 more play-at-home kits. 1 for each Iron Man, Thor, and Cap. So that's potentially 5 or 6 more maps. So
you got to think too, with the way they're designing the dials, with the smaller ranges, smaller movement, people are going to be less inclined to use the bigger maps because they're not going to be able to utilize their characters as much.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that's a very good point.
You know what, Jason? If we had time, we know what we should do is play with new Spider-Man figures on one of the 36 by 36 maps.
Oh my god!
Hey guys, the
like
first
the arena.
Yeah, the first 20 minutes of the video we're going to use to cross the map. It's like the first 2 Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, so I'm eager to see what they end up rotating and how things go with that.
So Jason, Alex, we forgot to do something at the start of our last set review.
What?
We forgot to put out our standard caveat for set reviews.
I for sure thought you said that.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, I thought you said that.
I don't think I did.
Why did we get comments? Angry comments?
I call them out on it, actually.
Oh, it was you. That's why you're on this episode.
Yeah. Wes was like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you so up? Why do you think those figures suck? They don't suck." And I'm like, "Well, so no, they don't suck." And like Tyler would say, I say every figure is kitchen table playable, right? The HeroClix has such imaginative things that you can do with scenarios and playability and, you know, whatever you want to do, right? The old colossals in the middle of a giant map, you know, you don't even have to use a map, right? You can just play figures and roll dice and, you know, think of all these imaginative things that you can do with Batman hiding in a bush and, you know, the Bat Knight giant hiding in a park bench and just all these crazy cool things. And it's totally okay to enjoy the game based on that, right? But when we think about enjoying the game from a competitive perspective, which is also a totally fine and valid way to enjoy HeroClix, we think about HeroClix in a much narrower field of view when it comes to figures being competitive. So Peter asked us, so he was hoping, could we clarify what specifically makes a figure good or bad?
Okay, this is a good question.
That seems a bit subjective to me, but yeah.
So, well, Jason, do you give us some of your thoughts, right? Because I've got thoughts because obviously I was watching the questions and stuff.
I don't have like a hard and fast rule for it. I mean,
well,
you know,
I was gonna say, did he give any sort of like parameters? Did he just
so the full question is what, when it comes to Clix, how do you decide that what's better to play? Just specific keywords or meta figures? Also, I've been listening to a lot of set reviews in the last few weeks, and while I've heard your thoughts, I guess I still don't quite get what makes a figure good or bad. So
Okay.
I was hoping you could clarify. Could you clarify what specifically makes a figure good or bad? Is it specific power combinations and point values? Are you looking to have a figure? Are you looking to specifically have a figure fulfill a particular role on a team? When you're building a team, what fundamental powers do you have to build with?
Okay, that gives us a little bit more to work off of.
Right. So I mean, I have a longer, detailed answer that I've thought about that I use a lot of times.
But what is it?
So
yeah, let's hear it.
And it's one of the reasons that I get so frustrated by the lack of events, is that HeroClix has seasons, or it used to, right? And with these set releasings and holding to set dates, you know, we got to see figures come and go, ebb and flow, right? So if you had an event that was, say, one specific one that I remember was UXM, Uncanny X-Men, so this would have been 2016, became legal 1 week before the end of May, before the Warlight batteries retired.
Yes.
So there was 1 week that you could play in competitive events and play the orange battery and put it on Mystique and turn off Pulse Wave.
Yes.
So there was no way that you could target the Mystiques to KO them. And so that's one more oppressive example. But like right now, there's no events, right? So you don't get to see these more unique, rarer combos, right? Because you're not driving for this plethora of events. So like, Wes, you had asked me this week, why do I see the same figures over and over again? Well, there's not a lot of time, there's not a lot of good prized events in person that people are driving for like they used to. And by driving for, I don't mean like driving your car, like they're striving for a goal of being able to play in this event, and they want to win because there was good prizing on the line. So like the motivation has like probably gone down for a lot of folks, right? Yeah. Like, oh, well, I can play Saki Iron Man because I've played him now for 6 months and I know how to play him pretty well, right? This is the only event that I get to play this quarter, and I better do well. I want to do well, so I'm going to play Saki Iron Man because I know how to use him. I want to win, and I feel like he gets my best chance of winning. So, like, if you have a whole season, a whole month of WKOs where, like, like where we are, Wes, we would have a WKO here in Owensboro where we're stores based out of. One in Lexington. There would be one in Ohio. There would be one in Chicago. There'd be one in Detroit. So, like, there in Indy, right, a lot of folks would travel those 4 or 5 hours out, and they would have 6 or 7 WKOs to go to. So, like, you take someone like PJ, right? That first WKO that he goes to, he's probably going to strive real hard to win because he wants to get the prizing, to collect it or sell it while it's really hot. But then that second or third WKO he goes to that month, he might try something new. He might try something creative, something fringy. And I would do similar things myself, but without those lack of events, like, if you go to Worlds, you're not going to play the fringe team to have, to flex your creative building skills. You're going to play the team that you think has the absolute best chance of getting you victory.
Yes and no. There are the type of people that are adamant they don't want to be one of those people that plays the meta people. Like, there's a lot of people I feel like that are like, I refuse
to play Thanos, the Legacy Thanos. I refuse.
Yeah, and so they might opt to play something less optimal in the meta scene for that. And I think that plays a lot into Peter's question, is that a lot of this, kind of like what Jason was saying, it is subjective because it's based off of the player. You can hear it, like, you can hear it in every single one of our set reviews. What Dan feels like is a good figure, I probably disagree with, or vice versa, and probably more vice versa. If we're honest, he disagrees with what I think is a good figure. Because me and Dan have vastly different play styles. Like, as a large, we do sometimes connect and we play similar things, like when I play Unit Mind back in the day. But for the most part, it's just we have different styles of liking to play. And so I think we as a group, have a very good baseline of knowing this is what definitely someone could take and make something out of. And I think that's the baseline, is kind of like what you said in your question, Peter. Specific power combinations, point cost, because some figures just too overcosted for what they provide. And no matter who really plays it, there might be a very remote chance that someone could play that figure. But when you look back at the team, you could probably tell, oh, it was the player that made that figure work and not vice versa. Yeah. And this is a constant thing I see all the time, is like, you see somebody win, Dan, PJ, you're like, how on earth did Dan win with blah, blah, blah team, with Stiltman? I don't know. And you're like, oh, I probably because Dan's a really good player. And you know what? That's probably the exact reason. The figure is not good, but Dan was able to make it work. Now, Dan, you typically play good pieces. Right. You're not one to be like, oh, I'm going to experiment and play a subpar piece to prove a point. But if you did and won, I would absolutely not jump to the conclusion and say this piece is great. I instantly jump to.
Well, I tried that. I got the top 16 with the subpar Thanos in Brad's event.
Sure.
So, but yeah, you take so I guess probably, Peter, to surmise your answer, it comes down to play style, right? And
if I can, I kind of like what both of you guys said. Like, for me, what makes a piece good depends on what you're saying about what's your motivation. Like, if I'm going super hard for a tournament, yeah, I'm going to play the super meta pieces that everybody else is playing. But if I'm just playing my local venue with my local friends I play with every other week, then I have more variety and different things I can look for. And if I'm just playing with my kids on the kitchen table, then it's the world's my oyster. But also, like what you guys said, the player makes the piece. Like, my go-to piece is very unpopular, but I've made believers out of it. The Chase SpiderMan from War of the Realms, roll 3 dice. People, Brad specifically hates that piece, but I've been playing it for the last year, and people are coming around going, "Oh man, that's a lot better than I thought it was." Just because of the way I play it and the way I use support pieces to make it better. People are now like, "Oh, that's a really good piece." Mm-hmm. I got one guy that plays in Brad's tournaments every week that straight up copied my build, and he's trying to make it his own just because I kicked his butt one week, and he's like, "Oh man, that's really good." It's totally pieces that nobody else is looking at. Yeah. But I saw potential there for my play style, and I've worked very hard making it work. I've tried 1,000 different molds of the build to make that piece work. But when Dan, you look at that piece, you're going, "That piece is crap." But I saw it, and I go, "Oh, I love that piece." So it's very subjective.
Yeah, and that kind of goes a lot in the line as well of, like, you were kind of mentioning it. Do you try to stay away from the more, Sarkarian Army, the pieces that are played so frequently? And I'm not talking about, like, your Venom Magnetos, like, the very good support pieces. I'm talking about, like, players build around, like, the same core of a team. Do you tend to try to stay away from, they're not really cookie cutter, but that's a common term thrown out there. Yeah. Do you try to stay away from those? Because I know there's a lot of people that are...
I feel like there's so much out there, and there's so many great pieces, and I like to creatively think outside the box. So, like, instead of going to eBay and dropping $400 on Carnage Silver Surfer, I'm going to pull my case that I ordered and see what I pull and make what I get work. I'm going to say, okay, I got this chase and this super rare. Those are going to make my staples for the team, and I'm going to build around that.
Yeah,
I get it.
That makes sense.
I don't want to see the same team over and over again because that's just like Thanos versus Thanos. Like, it's boring. I want Avengers versus Masters of Evil. Like, I want my team versus your team, who we both thought of on our own, from our own imaginations, and create something new.
So, like, that's where, like, I think folks sometimes misnomer competitive play versus, you know, casual play. And, like, there's an intersection. Like, I am a comic book fan. I'm not, like, a hardcore one. I get stuff wrong, even famously so here on the show. Iron Point. Yeah, thanks, Jason. But like,
the Sandman aren't the same person.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I dread Sandman.
Right. So, but like, there's an intersection of things where, like, I do enjoy comics. I love Iron Man. Do you know how excited I am to get to play Saki Iron Man?
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh my gosh, like that's a phenomenal thing, right? I love Iron Man, right? Like, I don't have as many as I used to, but you know, I've got over 100 Iron Man toys in my house. So, like, it just becomes like, sometimes competitive players are, you know, like, oh, they don't like comics, they don't like this, they don't like that. You know, we love comics, actually. We just want to play the game where the most combination of figures has the best chance of winning the game.
And another thing to keep in mind with our set reviews and stuff like that is the audience we try to cater to is those that don't have necessarily, one of the audiences we cater to is those that don't have necessarily the time to try to build. Some people just don't enjoy building teams. Like, they don't enjoy, like, they don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I want to do something fun, but I don't know where I want to start. Is there a SpiderMan in this upcoming set? What are some pieces I could start with? You know, Wesley, you were talking about, like, oh, I pulled a super rare, I'm going to start with that. Some people don't know, like, oh, I pulled like 3 or 4 super rares. I don't want to show up, you know, drive to this event or play at my local event and just get shellacked. I want to, like, have a rough idea of, hey, what's decent? Like, what is something good to start with, a good value? And I feel like that's what we try to aim with the set reviews of, hey, this figure, for the point cost, for the power it brings, what it brings to the table, this one is good to try to play competitively. And that's more obvious in our set review, in our tier maker. The tier maker, we separate them into, hey, this one will be played at like a win-a-map, which is what we're talking about with, like, oh, flexibility, playing something I wouldn't normally play, but winning consistently. Okay, that's the more Sarkhan Iron Mans or pieces that's like, oh, this is a piece a lot of people are going to want to try to fit on their team, not just people that are playing Sinister Syndicate or something, right?
Yeah.
So it's a combination of a lot of things. Our set reviews, though, we try to tailor to help people out that just don't know how to build teams or just don't have time. Like, a lot of people are, I would say a predominant amount of the HeroClix competitive community are adults that have jobs, families, kids, and maybe they don't have time to, like, delve through sets like they used to. And so they would like someone's opinion to be like, hey, what's actually good in this set where maybe I can't buy a brick, but I want to make sure I get some pretty decent pieces to play at home or play in my local venue. And that's the angle we try to go for of, hey, if you're looking for what pieces you want to pick up in this set to play competitively, whether it's super high or just at a regional level, these are the pieces. And unfortunately, sometimes sets, don't have a lot of that. SpiderMan was a set we were kind of down on a bit because there just honestly wasn't a ton to build with.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty frustrated listening to your last episode. Not frustrated, but like disappointed because when I saw the leaks of what was coming out of Spider-Man, my jaw hit the floor. I was super excited. I'm like, this set looks awesome. I love these powers. I love the synergy. I love them. You know, there's no theme props. They're trying to get some thematic stuff going on with the synergy. And then for 4 hours, you just said this set sucks. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
Well, so I think that goes.
They shouldn't have gave Spider-Man 2 damage. That's what the problem was.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue. But yeah, so Wes, you're right. So, and I get that, and you know, we certainly don't try to yuck on anybody's yum, but like,
I don't want to lie about it either and sugarcoat it and tell you.
Yeah, I don't either, right? I don't want to be like, oh, hey guys, this Electro's pretty good. He's got Perplex. Or well, he's got.
I'm not going to bullshit
probably.
you. If I think it sucks, I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, so
well,
like,
it kind of goes back to what you're saying, Dan. But like, I kind of see the HeroClix community in 3 levels or 3 tiers. There's the meta people that are just going to worlds and kicking ass and taking names, and there's the competitive people that are kind of regionally competitive. They they win some stuff, they lose some stuff. They're not building with Legacy Thanos and Sakura and Iron Man. They're building with other really good stuff. And then there's just the play at home kitchen table people.
yeah.
And unfortunately, right now, because of the way the world is right now, there's not a lot of local competitive stuff. Like, I'm trying to organize something with another venue that's up the road about an hour to do something together. Just their venue versus our venue or something like that. Because, like, it's me and 3 other guys that play every other week. Like, it gets boring. And
yeah, I get it. We're in that situation.
I wish there was more. I wish the community is more apt to play regionally and have more fun, competitive level events that aren't just the super mega meta, god killing pieces that you drop $400 on, but are still good pieces. Like the chases that aren't meta, but they're still really awesome.
Well, I think we're also, when it comes to Spider-Man specifically, and we mentioned this during the show, I think, is that we are in a odd period. We're still in that hybrid. We've got these great value pieces because we're not great value as in like the Walmart brand. We've got great value pieces. We got Legos at home, kids. No, I'm talking more about like we've got the pieces that like did not have these new rules in mind. So they've got like great range, great movement, and then we get these new sets which are clearly built for the future. But when we do our set reviews, we try to look to the future, but we have to focus on now because we're talking about this year now, and there is no foreseeable future.
And then even next year, right?
Yeah.
Like I even mentioned that during part of the show was like, hey guys, you know, like retirement when it happens. This like Saki Iron Man is not retiring this year, so it's going to be summer of 2024 before old Saki Iron Man goes away.
Yeah, but it's a very like I appreciate these type of comments because it does make me realize like it's hard for us to at this point with all this hybrid to really determine and like exactly what Dan was saying. Without a lot of competitive events, right now we're in a lot of hypothetical team builds where there is a lot of creativity, but there's not a lot of events to test that creativity.
Right.
To be able, hey, the Gwen Hulk is actually pretty good. Like we don't have the flexibility of saying, oh yeah, it is, because one, we haven't been able to play it, and we have such limited events, we're probably not going to play it because I'm probably not reaching for it.
Well, there's figures that I've not looked at because I just didn't think it looked good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw somebody play it, and I'm like, oh, I need to get that another look.
Right.
So that comes back to we need more local Avengers, which I'm hoping that they're alluding to with this announcement.
Right. So
Yeah,
so I think to maybe kind of add a little bit more thought process there on what kind of different things categories fall into when it comes to competitive, because Peter did ask like what kind of powers or abilities are you looking for, and I think it comes down to there's a lot of how do I want to say this, there's oh gosh, I'm trying to think, like you want such overwhelming offense that you can wipe your opponent very quickly.
Well,
See, I'm the opposite though.
Or they're such
They're extremely defensive to where my goal is to keep you from scoring points. So I make my team as defensively hard to hit as possible, but then I don't have enough offense to counterpoint. But I played last weekend, and my opponent was like, "Man, that's the longest 2 turns I've ever had because I just didn't know how to get to you. I didn't know how to hit you." And
right.
It just went on forever on a stalemate because he couldn't hit me, but I couldn't get to him either. So,
right.
Yeah, it's different archetypes. There's different type of archetypes of teams that we try to do our set reviews based off of like, how would this work on a barrier team? How would this work on a don't die team? How would this work on a I'm going to build around Saturnine and hide, defend, and just hope you just won't get to me, because that typically is what happens. Like there's those different archetypes out there that you have to consider with almost every figure. And I feel like we do it. I feel like that's what is great about our team, the 4 of us when we do our set reviews, is that we bring a lot of those different personalities and preferences. Like Tyler is a very aggressive player, so when he looks at figures, he looks at how can I be as obnoxiously aggressive as I can. Can this get me across the map in a second? Dan brings, we all bring a little bit of everything, but Dan is definitely more as of right now, like tent pulley, barrier, like defensive. How can I stand your assault while also delivering my own assault? And then for me and Jason, I think Jason, you and I, we kind of just go back and forth on what we like. I sometimes like Pog teams at one point. Sometimes I just like a certain figure. Sometimes I just like, It really depends on what's in the meta, and I'm like, I don't enjoy that type of game. I don't enjoy playing this. I want to be able to have fun and not sit in a stalemate. Yeah. And so I want to have something that maybe isn't too aggressive because I don't like being that risky, but I want something that I could be enough aggressive to where I'm having fun and not feeling bad about my day. I have to find something I like to play. Yeah.
Like a figure I like to play. I can build around.
But like at the end of the and like at the end of the day, right? You want to keep your at the end of the day, right? Most of the highest level teams are designed around keeping your opponent from playing the game or keeping them from doing something that they want to
do. Yeah, I mean, surprising. Like, as much as we hate the wow factor, it's like, how can I limit my opponent's assault, their plans, as much as possible while still doing what I want to do?
Yeah, you got it. So but I think I was just going to say, I think that kind of covers our thought processes on what we were thinking with our set reviews.
And one thing I want to go back to real fast, because I think it is an interesting discussion that I would like to have on another episode, or save it for like a a video or something is going back to what you were talking about, Wesley, about the competitive scene and what we're missing. We're missing that lower tier. Like, we still have not come close to recovering from COVID.
Right.
And I think a lot of that is because right now HeroClix is incredibly hard to market to gain new players. It's because the game itself, how WizKids markets it, is to stores, and they say, here you go, here's some cool solicits. So they put the responsibility on the stores, which may used to be a thing and like used to work really well, and having it in like different game trade magazines and stuff. But like, that's not how a lot of new players, I feel like, get their info anymore. I don't feel like honestly, like locally here, we have 5 players, maybe 4 or 5 players that consistently show up or hopefully show up. And we don't play consistently because it's like there's only 5 of us, right? Like, so we play with new sets and maybe a little bit after. Like, we have a floor event this Sunday. But besides that, it's like, how do I get new people out? Like, I've thought of we used to maybe go to local conventions, like that has board games and whatnot, and try to do demos, right? Like, that's the thing. But how are you expected to, how do you get new people nowadays? Is it that we're so used to old methods that in order to get new, we need to adapt? Because obviously right now WizKids is just kind of leaving it up to, we're looking for new players. I don't know if they necessarily care if we are playing in stores or playing at home on our kitchen counter.
Right.
Because we're buying HeroClix either way. So is it left up to us, and what can we do as players? What can we do to help make this game more marketable, or at least get the word out to more people, to get new people in areas? Because I think that is a problem. As soon as, guys, if you look at the demographic of HeroClix players, I'm sure it's older people, right? Like probably in their 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe late 20s. So like, when we're old men, sure, we'll be playing HeroClix at the nursing home, but who's going to be behind us still playing? Yeah. At this point, I don't know who, besides our kids, right?
It's got to come down to the marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that might be where we have to step it up. But I think that'd be a fun discussion to have of, what could the community do? Like, what should we talk about doing? Whether it's kind of running our own events.
Yeah, but Alex, I mean, that all comes down to. I know that you've talked about this quite a bit, and what can we do? What can that do? It just all comes down to price support, right? The company that makes the game has the most engaging prize support for the game, and it's just, you don't see people getting out like they used to, because there's no monthly OP, there's no WKOs. States, we got states that were going to be announced, and we've heard nothing else about that. We've heard nothing. I mean, so like all of that just adds up time after time of, like, I want to go to PJ's event, right? We talked about that last episode. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going. So here's the thing. This weekend I'm going to Columbus to Jay's event, and I talked to Sam about it. And here's how our discussion went. So it's going to be $150 for TJ and I to go to the for a hotel. $300 for 2 nights, because it's 5 hours for me, 6 hours for TJ, and so it's that plus food plus gas plus entry. And I'm going, and I love Jay. Love Jay's store, love his setup, all this other stuff, but he's 5 hours away, right? Mm-hmm. And first place he's getting is a brick of SpiderMan. And if it doesn't include a Carnage Surfer, I'm probably not going to get the money out of it that I would get out of a brick. So I'm spending over $200 and 2 nights of my time to go play But the conversation with Sam went, well, Daniel, this is the only place that you can play this month and get competitive HeroClix in. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Let's go to Jay's. So before in my life, I would have been able to, there would have been one in Lexington. There would have, all this other stuff. And I get what you're saying that, like, us in the community's got to step up. But step up how much? How long?
Well, it doesn't matter how long. If we want this game to continue and WizKids is going to continue to make HeroClix and we want to play competitively, we have to assume, like, we have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. If they don't support competitive play, okay, do we all want to just collectively stop competitively playing, or do we want to keep playing? Like, that. What I was. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things, like, what I was relating more to, Dan, like, you're talking more competitively, which I think is almost a separate conversation to what I'm specifically talking about. I'm talking about getting the more casual players, because how do you get competitive players? Majority of the time, it's hey man, you're having a bunch of fun here. Why don't you come with me to a tournament? Now I know in the scenario you're just talking about, there's none of those tournaments that exist. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But right now we also don't have the hey buddy, like, we don't have the buddy that plays casually with us.
Oh, that
it's
goes
like
back.
You need
that,
both.
But that goes back to monthly OP, right?
I honestly don't agree with. That
because if I'm in the store, right, what do I have to market to, right? I keep in mind that WizKids needs to do a better job at marketing, for sure, right? That's no doubt in my mind. They need to do a better job at marketing, but how can I as a community help get more casual people into the game if I don't have anything to give them, right?
Well,
like
that kind of goes into what I wanted to say about, like, it's more than just recruiting new players. For the last 2 years, that's all WizKids has cared about, is getting new players. Meanwhile, I have watched so many players dwindle that were existing because WizKids isn't listening to the existing players and what they want. And they're making all these changes against the will of the existing players in the hopes of recruiting new players while they're not marketing to anybody. So they need to market to new players, but they also need to market to the existing players. Like, they're not going to get anybody new if they're pissing off all the existing players.
Well, and the piggyback off that, I completely agree. I think a lot of the problem with what they originally planned with, starting with Wonder Woman 80, is when they really were kind of pushing this new, changing the rules, make it simpler, and then they obviously changed all of that. A lot of that didn't really, like, they changed the game, but then they didn't change how they advertise. They didn't change how they're getting new players. They reached out to maybe a few new YouTubers or Twitter people or whatever. But, like, it was kind of like face value. They're like, yeah, we're reaching out to new players, but they didn't. Like, they didn't try to do new things with stores or trying to get more people out there. So yes, I agree. They need to do better with veterans, people that have been in the game, to keep existing players. They need to do all of the above.
Well, like, I was first introduced to HeroClix way back in 2009 through a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing. He's like, hey, you like comic books? Let me show you this. But he wasn't somebody I knew, like, regularly. He was acquaintance through acquaintance kind of thing. So, but I was introduced to it through word of mouth. And then back in 2003, I had moved, and I was like, man, I remember that game that guy showed me. What was it called? And so I had to look it up, and I found a venue that was literally a mile away from my house that I didn't even know. And I was like, hey, you guys play HeroClix? Oh, yeah, we play every other Saturday. And I played it for a few months, and then I don't think I even bought a brick. And I stopped because I was getting divorced and moved and all that kind of stuff. But then I moved here to Indiana, and again, I was just like, man, I missed that HeroClix game. And I had to do actual research. I had to go to the WizKids site and Google where there's a venue. That call the venue, and they're like, yeah, I think they play sometimes. It's kind of hit or miss. You have to talk to this guy. But it was all word of mouth the entire time.
Yeah.
Now, I've only started playing regularly right when the pandemic hit. But never once since I started playing has there been any actual advertising or marketing of any kind to where if I didn't know somebody who was already in the game, I would have never had a clue it existed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think, and that's probably fine. Like that whole method when you don't like. That's probably a fine method when what they care about is people buying product. There's enough people to buy product. Long term, that'll probably dwindle. But in order to get new people, like you want new people in order to continue this competitive scene, right? Like we need new people that play casually because casual players are just as important as competitive to keep this game going because they eventually, most casual players might branch into competitive play. So right now, WizKids' thought is, oh, hey, you know, we're still selling everything like crazy. I assume they are, right? So, like, why do we need to change anything up? Like, word of mouth is still working. Like, we're still, you guys are still buying a ton of it.
Are they buying like crazy? Because from what I understand, just a few years ago, there was 6 venues within 50-mile radius of here. As of 2 years ago, when I started playing again, there was 3, and now there's 1 with 3 people that come on a regular basis. Like there's way less players and way less venues. There's no way they're making as much money as they were.
The main difference is that they have begun to sell it on their own website, and there's also online venues where it's like. Or not online venues, but online stores like Safari Collectibles, Glass Cabinet, a bunch of different places where you could probably get product cheaper than you would get it in some of your stores. Now, good stores that want to build a community would offer similar prices, but it's one where it's like locally, my store does give us discounts, but sometimes they don't, and I end up having to go elsewhere, or I feel like I have to go elsewhere. And then that leads to, okay, I get better. It's kind of like the Amazon situation, right? Like you don't want to go to your local mom and pop store because you can get it cheaper on Amazon. So it's like it's hard to equate or hard to figure out, oh yeah, there's not a lot of people at these stores playing HeroClix because they can't be making money. Well, they're still probably selling a ton to Lucky Dice, to Safari Zone, like all these online people are still buying a ton and still selling a ton. Because there's a lot of people still buying all these figures. Like otherwise, they wouldn't be still having invested as much as they invested. They would have just stopped by now. If they wouldn't have come back to it. But anyway.
All right, I'm going to move this along here. So,
sorry, I got us off track.
No, you're fine.
It wasn't you. It was the question. Like we were talking about what makes a
I'm
a good thing.
I'm gonna move us along here on the question. So we got a few more questions to answer tonight, and so Amato asked, "Will you join in signing a strongly worded letter if Avengers Prime doesn't get a legacy in Avengers 60?" Sure.
Now, I was not around for Avengers Prime. I know of Avengers Prime. I know I played against the figure in like some casual events. Is it one of those? It was the figure that like it never got to see play because it was overcosted, right? Like, it just literally could not see play.
I don't know. That would be a Jason question.
What's that?
Avengers Prime
was good, right?
Oh. Like he was, I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, I didn't ever play it competitive or see anybody play it competitively, but it was fun at local events.
Yeah, because it was 300
It was
and
pretty
400.
powerful for that. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like a piece you were going to play 300 in a big tournament, but like at the local event, it was pretty fun. I played it a couple times just locally, and it just kicked some butt, you know.
Yeah, considering we didn't get, I mean, I guess they could have been saving it for Avengers 60. I would be pretty surprised if they didn't make Avenger
Yeah,
Prime.
it's just a cool looking piece too.
I mean, we got the freaking the chariot because everyone was not because people were complaining, but you know it was an overcosted piece originally, and they're like, all right, here's a legacy card. You know, definitely makes it where you can actually play it this time. Doesn't mean it was good, but
right.
I could see them doing something similar to Avengers Prime because it was a piece that everyone, a lot of people were excited to get. It's a really, like, even to date, probably one of the better sculpts out there.
Yeah.
So I hope so. I hope they do it.
So Christian Palma, you know, I think I can easily answer this question. The collation situation is got to get better.
Oh, what was the question?
Yeah, he says, what can we do as a community about these collation distribution issues of no chases in these bricks?
I mean, there's nothing we could do as a community.
I mean,
we could complain, but
yeah, we're pretty good at complaining.
Not buy the product. That's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. Is not buy the product.
Yeah, it's one of those. If we really wanted something to happen, it would have to be like a D&D level backlash. You know what I'm talking about? Like when the whole D&D fiasco with the OGL license this past winter, like that got things changed. But otherwise, it's like saying, "Oh, I'm boycotting Apple because of how they treat people and so." It's like that's not going to affect Apple. Like, oh well, 20,000 people don't buy their product. Like there would have to be significant.
So
like,
what happened when sculpts were like tiny and their eyes were like misshapen and coloring was horrible?
That was awesome.
Like,
they were awesome.
They're fantastic now. So like at one point, did WizKids listen to the community and step up their game on sculpts?
So you got to keep in mind, like, I don't think anybody really is expecting sculpts to be that crazy, right? It's a 5 figures for $17, right? Well, they've gotten better, right? But you know, when they used to be super duper cheap, right? I mean, it just is what it is, right?
So it wasn't like the community reached out to them and said, "Hey, your sculpts suck. We want something better." They just kind of did it on their own.
Yeah, I mean, they've continually improved the quality and stuff of the figures. It's just these distribution issues, and the distribution issues have been going on for years.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason, remember when I opened up SpiderMan in 2016 and didn't get a chase? And then Deadpool and the X-Force, people didn't get chases.
ADW was really bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a continual issue where people don't get good distribution. I mean, and so people have. So, I think to answer Christian's question, people have complained and posted about it and wrote strongly worded letters to WizKids and all this other stuff, and they just haven't fixed it. So, I mean, it hasn't stopped me. I bought 2 cases of SpiderMan, knowing that I could get the Vulture brick. So, I don't know. It hadn't stopped me.
I think what would have to happen is that we have to, as a community, create more revenue for WizKids so they can shop around for a better distribution company. Because it's paying from China, and they probably just pick the cheapest one that they can afford, and they're just getting what they get.
I like that idea to just spend more money. It's always a good one. I'm sure WizKids appreciates us saying that. But No, I don't know. I don't think there is one. I don't think there's anything particular that you could do. So Richard Shaw, so Jason, Alex, he's asking again for the equipment tier maker.
Yeah, we just got to schedule that. Now that we got all the SpiderMan ones, and there's not any more in the foreseeable future that we know of, it'd be good to go ahead and, especially since we got these 3 months. That might end up being tabled until after we get through like Silver Age stuff, leading up to the Rock Cup.
Yeah.
But it is on our radar. We've got a lot of stuff we could probably cover that we need to actually sit down and do.
Right. So Andrew Wilson's comment here, how do you feel about the existence of 2x2 blocking terrain? Well, I did upload the video on Wednesday going through all of that. The fact that you can bring 3 2x2 squares of blocking is quite absurd. Just
seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, it seems crazy to me, actually.
Yeah. I think what it does, having that available, just hurts newer competitive players that may not overanalyze and overthink about everything like we do.
Yeah.
Because those type of players like us, we prepare for that, right? Like knowing that exists and that possibility exists, we're preparing for that mentally and on our teams. So now we're thinking of, okay, if someone's bringing that I-win map, I'm taking into this map. That way I know I can position maybe a little bit better. Or if I go first, okay, well, I know I'm bringing this terrain to put in front of me, so they can't put their terrain markers on, in front of me. Like, we can plan ahead of that. But the people going to, oh, this is my first competitive event.
Yeah.
That's going to be a rude awakening for them, where they're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah,
great.
So for what it's worth, the 2x2 blocking terrain does come in the Miles Play at Home kit. I have now gotten 2 Miles Play at Home kits in my possession, and I guess I'm going to have to buy another one by this weekend because it is absurd. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It is absurd that you
have
can.
Have you actually played with it yet?
I did. I played in Brad's event. So in Brad's event, I played 3 of the 1x2 blockings.
I have yet to actually see it in practice.
Yeah.
So I'm all this stuff about the terrain. I'm just kind of like imagining it and seeing it on paper, but I haven't yet to see it in action and see how it plays out. I really have a thought about it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it would not saying we were going to do this, but it'd probably be good if we did like a video of like breaking down, just kind of like we're talking about with the tier maker, but breaking down different possibilities that exist out there.
Yeah, I feel like here's what I would like to do. I would like, and this is Mike, this is going to sound silly, okay? And so just be prepared for me for this, okay? Just go with me on this. Mm-hmm. I would like to have, like, let's say, I don't know, like a Brian Gailey or like someone along those lines on, right? And just go to a map with these blocking terrains and just say, hey, Brian, I'm just using Brian as an example because I know Brian listens to the show. Brian, is this a legal placement for this terrain on this map? And then have him say, yes, it's a legal placement for terrain on this map. And then we go, hey, look at how this inhibits you from being able to move across this map. It cuts off this 2/3 of the map from having easy access lines without destroying the terrain.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I know that sounds kind of silly to like say like I would want Brian or someone super smart with the rules on. But like, yeah, guess what? It's absurd.
I mean, that's what
it's not like Felix Faust, D20 breaking, but like it totally changes the dynamic of the game to not be able to do the things that you want to do in the order that you want to do them.
For now,
I wish they would have done it more gradually. Like instead of 3 huge shipping containers, do like you can put 3 squares of terrain out there. You can do 1 big ass terrain, or you can do 3 one square terrains. However you want to do it, but you can do 3, and just get our feet wet with how that's going to work before they just threw it all at us.
Yeah. Well, so the issue like becomes like the equipment's not the equipment, the terrain's not unique, and just being able to do all of that and have a 6x6 square of blocking, or I'm sorry, a 6x2 square of blocking on the map is just absurd. If you can get someone
on a small map, even
on a small map, right? And I haven't, and I'm going to, and so this weekend for Jay's event, I am planning on taking 3 of the small maps from SpiderMan. I do have to actually look at them, but SpiderMan is legal for Jay's event. Jay's actually doing it a few days early. But we've all kind of said we're okay with it. It should be a little bit smaller event, but I am going to take all 3 smaller maps. If I can get a hold of another Miles play-at-home kit, I will have 3 2x squares of blocking.
I should have mine. You can borrow.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. And so we'll just see how ridiculous it becomes.
It would not surprise me at some point if they made it where they're unique, where you can only play one type of non-standard. Like you can't play doubles of a non-standard terrain. Like I feel like they kind of open themselves up to allowing that to going that way by literally naming them different types, like saying this is non-standard and this is standard. Like they open up that very easy fix of, oh, this is overpowered. All right, non-standard is just you can play one of each type of non-standard.
Yeah, I know that question's been asked on the win and stuff. So hopefully we get a little bit more clarification on that. So
yeah. But yeah, there's a lot to be done with terrain. Like it's also, I think there's also still the element of freshness, still the element of, oh, this is new, this is crazy new, like crazy that this works new.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's still that element of, oh my gosh, 3 2x2s of blocking. Like, yeah, that is nuts when you think about it now, but like a month from now, or probably longer since the meta is very slow right now, when we're accustomed to it, we're probably not going to think it's as crazy as it was. Like, it's still crazy, but we've grown accustomed to it, so we're not. But just like we got used to Vulture at some point, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we liked it, but we were like, well, it's a thing, so now we know that if we're going first, I got to make sure I have a 1x3. I don't know. Or if I pick map, I got to make sure that my opponent places their terrain marker before I put down my figures. I think that's going to be a huge thing, that people slow down game setup, because it is first player, figures, terrain markers.
That's right.
So if you put them in my field and you put them all next to each other, all right, I'm placing all my figures on the other side of this side of the map, so I'm not immediately next to you, because I chose map in that instance. Like, so I'm going to choose map with 2 open sides or something. You can play with it more.
Yeah.
It is really confusing. Like, I've talked to other people about this. I don't disagree with the changes that WizKids makes. I disagree with their reasoning behind it, because they don't make sense. When they say, we want the game to be easier and more accessible, then they make more rules and make it more complicated. We want to speed up the game
How
by
many
making
times
it
have I said that?
smaller, but then we're going to throw in a whole bunch of terrain and make it more hard to get across the map. Like, which is it?
Yeah, I
Doesn't
think
make
it's
sense.
well. You also got to keep in mind. I mean, who are they catering to when they say stuff like that? We're not necessarily a target audience of we want to make the game faster. People at home aren't necessarily buying 3 Miles Morales play at home kits to get 3 of those 2x2s. So it's like they do have to prepare better. Like, remember, okay, well, who are the people that are reading this more? We're the ones that live and breathe this game sometimes. So, like, make sure when you say this game's faster, be like, hey, casual players, the rules are for you to go faster. Not, hey, you guys at home, or you guys playing in the stores competitively. Watch out. So.
No, I agree. So Robbie McCants, I assume Robbie is local to you.
Yes.
Yeah. So he says
we're going to carpool together up in Chicago.
yeah. So he says, listen up, Wesley. Which singular piece of advice would you give for someone new who's dipping their toes into competitive waters? April 15th in Chicago. So my piece of advice for anyone is, there's always the practice. That's always not my main piece of advice for a newish player. It is physical preparedness, right? Getting plenty of sleep, getting hydration, understand where the venue's going, how you're going to get your hydration and food throughout the day, because it's going to be stressful. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. There's going to be stuff that you haven't seen before. And how do you mitigate all of that? Well, you need to be of a fresh mind, fresh spirit, fresh, full belly, but not overly full, full belly.
My first experience in competitive play was last year at PJ's event, and I was so nervous that my first turn, I forgot how to put markers down. I was like, I can't make my move, now what? Like, I turned into an idiot because I was so nervous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, trust yourself a little bit more. Don't be afraid to ask a judge for advice. Don't let your opponent, not that all opponents do this, a lot of opponents don't, but don't let, if you're sitting across from a clearly more experienced player or someone that you recognize of other higher, they play very competitively, don't be afraid to ask questions to a judge or get some clarification, or, especially if your opponent is trying to give you the answer, they might know the answer, but you want to make sure you're confident in what you're doing. It's because I feel like if I forget, like if I'm trying to figure out, can I do this? I get off on this whole derail and I forgot the rest of the stuff I was going to do that turn. It's right. Like, okay, can I move here? And it's like, let's talk about, can I see you from this angle on this elevated? And then like 2 minutes later, it's like ruled, oh no, you can't. And it's like, well, shoot, what was I going to do the rest of my turn? Like, take pad and paper. You can't write a ton down and like keep it going between games, but like take it for like each game. And like if you're thinking about your turn, take some notes and be like, do this, do that. Don't forget. Don't forget leadership.
I had bullet points. Don't forget leadership. Don't forget about destroyer. I had destroyer on my sideline. I always forget to bring him in. Like at least like 10 bullet points to remember each turn.
Yeah, and you could probably, a lot of times judges would be okay with you bringing those type of notes in, like for every game, not having to like rewrite them. Because I think official WizKids says that it's supposed to be blank or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's something about like you can't bring a bunch of notes. I don't remember exactly what it was. But either way, like just talk to the judge and just be like, hey, I'm a newer player. I want to make sure I get things right. Is it okay if I use this pen and paper to write down reminders for myself? And I don't know many judges that would say, no, absolutely not. You can't put down yourself reminders.
Right.
I think that's definitely a good point, because I am notorious for forgetting things. Like you were saying, Wesley, I forget Destroyer, I forget leaderships or certain
Rally
things
dice.
all the time. Yeah, I forget that all the time. So,
Jason, what's your piece of advice?
Just try to have fun. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just, even though you're playing competitively, doesn't mean you can't have a good time and enjoy the game with the person sitting across from you. I mean, you had a good list of stuff that I agree with, but I mean, I just have fun doing it.
yeah, don't set yourself unrealistic expectations. Like, it's good to aim high, but don't feel bad if you don't hit that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're setting like,
Only one person wins a tournament.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
everybody else is a loser, so it's okay.
That's very true. And with that, I think we should move on to final thoughts. So, Wes, what are your final thoughts for today's episode? We certainly appreciate you having on, and appreciate you choosing us as your prize. We greatly appreciate that. So, final thoughts for us.
Well, I really appreciate you guys and the insights you bring to the game. I called you out on the putting down SpiderMan. It was just because my heart was broken a little bit. But I just really love what you guys say, and just a real depth you bring to the game that I don't have a grasp of yet, being newer. And I'm trying to get into. I don't know if I'll ever be a meta player, but I definitely want to be more competitive. So, yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me, and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on. Alex?
I was really hoping Wes was going to say something along the lines of, yeah, I really only picked this so that way I could be on an episode with Tyler, but man, now I'm just so disappointed.
Hey, it was better to be on Brad's show. Brad's show was dead last.
Oh.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's my final thought.
Jason, final thoughts?
Well, Wes, I'm sorry I had to badmouth the SpiderMan set. I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah,
I
Jason.
I didn't design it. I just got really overly excited for it. So I think overly excited just because it was something that wasn't X-Men for the first time in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Jason's like the biggest Spider-Man fan that I know of in my life. And if he's disappointed, that says a lot.
And that you could probably that's probably why we were so down, or at least so not enthused during our set review. It's because man, we want to be excited as we can be, but man, it was hard.
I think also part of my excitement was the powers and combinations for powers were different. But they may not be meta, but they are different than what we've seen in recent sets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some of you've seen before in older sets, but just recently, it's all been kind of the same thing over and over again. And this set kind of broke out of the mold. It may not be the best power set, but it's fun and something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, again, Wes, thanks for being on. Thanks for choosing us as your prize. And, I look forward to maybe seeing a few folks in Columbus this weekend. And as usual, thanks everybody for listening to Clixed Off today. We'll talk to y'all next time.
Yeah.
Later.